lot of stuff happening around the different services that we have in Microsoft 365. So let's get started. Interesting enough, we're going to start with Outlook Web. This is a quick one. This one's happening here late August. So coming up here in a couple weeks. If you have users using Outlook Web, one of the things you're going to see then is when they go ahead and do a search within Outlook Web, they're going to be able to see refiners that you're going to see specifically right down here that will allow them to be able to quickly filter through whatever those results happen to be. That's a quick one, but let your users know that that's happening. All right, this is actually an interesting one, and I was thinking about maybe doing it for today, just didn't find the right spot for it. But Microsoft Forms, there's going to be an addition to how you can normally add a link into chat or something like that. But now you can actually do what's called a PowerPoint add-on for that, or you can just go live into the web page for it. It's rolling out right now, and this is for short forms or quizzes that you have, and literally you're going to see it in time. So you go in and you actually answer the quiz or question, and you're going to see the results right there. The nice thing about the PowerPoint add-in is the same experience is going to be in the PowerPoint slide. So if you're doing live, PowerPoint live like we're here, and I had that in there, you would literally be able to see the exact same information in here. Ways to be able to do this would be Forms add-in, right, in PowerPoint, a QR code, or even a short URL to be able to access. Again, get the word out to your users because this is a big deal, and I think it's going to be very important for them. All right, another thing, this is on the Viva side, the ability to be able to broadcast, to make it a broadcast update for Viva goals, specifically coming out here early August, late August. If you have Viva, specifically Viva goals and using it, there is a share and update feature that's going to help you push it out to your organization, to your team, whoever you want to. So leaders can do this as goals may be progressing. All right, again, this is happening right now in August. SharePoint Online, there is going to be a change in new site creation experience so that when I go in there, and if you have, not everybody has done this, but if you have the ability to be able to do ad hoc new site creation, what you're going to see in here is go in and it's just going to change. It's going to change the look and feel of that experience when you're creating a new site. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you more of a full page preview of what's going on, list of site capabilities, list of pages, even site features that you're going to see in this particular template. And it's just based off of templates. The other thing, you're going to have some renames. And I mentioned that here in this standard team, formerly known as team collaboration, standard communication, also known as topic, training course, formerly known as training and courses, and then training design, formerly training and development. And those things, make sure your end users know that this is happening only if you allow ad hoc SharePoint site creation capabilities. The other thing that's going to be happening here, late August, already happening for preview and then coming out here in late August to early October is this browse files by meetings in OneDrive. And you're going to get a little section browse by on the left-hand navigation that allows you to be able to find all meetings that you have been in, right, or maybe not made, and then any of the content associated to it, right? So it's filtering just to those meetings. That happens to me a lot where I'm like, oh, I missed last week, or I have to go find that PowerPoint from a couple weeks ago. Hey, let me go find it, click on it, then you get the information specifically to that. That doesn't mean you have to go into the recap for that team, right, or find that in your chat. So sometimes it's hard to be able to do that. This is an easier way to access that content. Again, it's accessing it from the meeting side of things, but in OneDrive. All right, another thing that's happening, and this is more on the team's admin side that I want to make sure I call out here, rolling out here in August still. This is for teams admins. And for the longest time, if you ever heard administration in general, especially on the Microsoft side, we had something called group policies, right? And we carried that concept, that idea into Teams Admin Center when it comes to any policy for chat or Teams meetings or phone or whatever that happens to be. Now there's this ability to be able to do more of rank, assigning a rank to a particular policy. So what's going to take precedence versus something else? So really, this is happening. There's going to be an effective policy that's going to be able to set a precedence rule. And these policies, the way it's going to work is, yes, you're going to have a policy that may be assigned to an individual user, but really the group ones are going to take precedence. And that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. And you have the ability to be able to say, if I have 3 or 4 groups that I'm in and I have different policies, they can be ranked. This is always going to be the first one, second one, and third one. So that change is happening. Again, notify your admins that this change and start looking at it and how they can use it. Otherwise, I don't think you need to let your end users know. Hopefully that's not going to cause any problems. Yeah, Ryan, it would be interesting to see if they adopt that same kind of thing that's done that like Intune, right? We'll see, and it's coming out. So let me know if that's the case. All right, there's another piece, and this, I'm not sure how many of you use our webinars in Teams meetings, but one of the things that you can do is, there's always, you can record a webinar. Well, one of the things that's coming out here in late September, late October, in fact, this was originally pushed out, right? So was late August to September, now it's late September to October. An organizer has the ability to be able to publish the recording with this particular feature. And what that does is it'll take either the default one, or if I wanted to customize that one, then I can upload that and push it out. And it has its own site that people can then view it, download it, whatever they need to do, however you have it set up, right? You can also customize the attendee notification of this as well, because it will actually push out an email saying, hey, you attended this, go watch the recording, whichever one you chose, right? So make sure that your organizers know that this is happening, especially if they're using webinars within Teams meetings. And if you're not, why aren't you? I mean, you should be using it for certain things, so give it a shot. All right, there is a change also for those who are familiar with on the Teams phone and Teams room side. There's a license called the shared device license. And this basically would be a device that maybe more than one person would be utilizing. And I don't want to have my own account associated to it because I'm sharing across 3 or 4 people. This would be common area phones is a great example, or sometimes you may have a phone in a conference room. Well, that license, by the way, now can be added to a Android mobile device, right? So I can then sign in with that particular license, that resource account that has that license, and then I could have that mobile device be a shared device across multiple users without, maybe it's a factory floor, or maybe it's a scenario that you guys have similar. So what it does is it does bring some of those common area phone or capabilities. So it could be call queues, that could be a part of that, even could be a part of an auto-attended call parking. Those things that I would do in those scenarios would apply to this. But in a mobile device scenario, for your frontline workers or for people that are mobile all the time. Another feature, especially if you guys are utilizing call delegation, and I see this a lot with executive admins and executive leaders, right? Those types of things, they don't want to necessarily always answer their calls. Somebody else is going to grab it for them. This is coming here in mid-August to late September, and this change actually allows it a lot easier to be able to see, number one, who I have, whom I have a delegate of and who's delegating or delegate for me. And then, are they in a call that's for me, right? And if I then decide to, I could actually just jump into that call, which is a new part of this feature that's coming out, right? So UI experience is going to change a little bit. There's going to be in the permissions section, there's going to be an area to be able to then actually go into a call or join an active call, right? And that's a permission set that's set up for that particular delegate-y type scenario. Make sure you let your users know that this change is happening, because it's a big one. I think it's one of those that I've heard a lot of use cases that people are looking for. On the Teams Rooms side, some enhancements specific around front row. If you guys are familiar with front row, it's this particular box down on the bottom where if I'm in here, it makes it look like it's individuals in that that one-on-one type of FaceTime that you would normally get in a conference room. That's that front row experience. Well, in this particular update, and this is for Windows, Teams Rooms on Windows, there is an update of 4.18 coming up that AI is going to actually remove the background. So you notice how I have a background here, and if we were all in this front row experience, they would all remove all the backgrounds and make it uniform across it. So it looks a little bit better, a little bit more uniform across the board. Additionally, it's going to be doing some spatial audio pieces. So if say, for instance, Mary is over here, and I have the supported speakers for this capability, then on the left-hand side of the room, I'm going to hear Mary from the speaker, right? And if Bob is on the right-hand side of the room, then from the front row experience, then I'll hear him from the right-hand side. So it actually helps with meeting fatigue, those types of things, to be able to help that hybrid scenario even more. You can control these features through XML or even at the control panel in the Teams room. Again, some knowledge is going to be has to be given out to end users who are utilizing these rooms and your admins for configuration. All right, IntelliFrame is another piece from our Cloud IntelliFrame is another piece for the Teams rooms that are coming out here soon. And basically thinking about this is that there's some supported cameras, and this is again for Teams rooms on Windows. They also have to have the Pro license for this. And basically what it's going to be able to do is if you have a camera that supports this, it's going to literally then bring those individuals in that conference room into the meeting. And you'll see an example of that right over here, where I see 4 individuals, right? Fortunately, one of them is the back of the head, but hopefully they're in a sitting position so that you can see the camera. The one thing I want to point out is this little icon is going to show that this is a Cloud IntelliFrame scenario, right? So I'm seeing people that are in that room and they're bringing out their individual avatars into the meeting. Make sure you check the Message Center post for supported cameras if this is something that you're interested in utilizing. A couple quick mentions, and I'm going to post this later on so you can take a look at this as well, that I want to make sure you know. The big ones that I saw were the ability to be able to deploy the new Teams app. If you're familiar, we're moving away from the old way of doing our app to a new version of app that's faster, more performance-based, and a lot of changes to that. But they're already starting to make some changes and leading up to that, hey, moving completely to that new version of Teams. So bring that to your attention there. There's also some changes in device management for Teams devices on Android. And there's a lot of them. There's maybe phones, there may be Teams rooms that are going to be affected by this. There's a preview for this, and basically what's going on is Microsoft is actually creating their own Android-based, and it's like a branch of the Android OS system that's used for these devices currently. We're going to have a little bit more control of what's going on. So there is going to be a firmware for specific devices, right, that will be able to do this, and it's the 1HCY 2024 update that's coming, and the first step is that firmware update that needs to happen. These will move them from our default device management tool, which is the Android Device Manager Administrator, to the Android Open Source Project Management. That's a lot of words to say. Basically, Microsoft is then moving to an open source where we have a little bit more control. Okay, so that's this one up here again. Make sure you keep that in mind. And then I want to make sure I'm hitting some of the updated ones. As always, there's going to be things that are going to slip and slide as far as release dates. A couple ones that I want to really point out. One of them is explicit recording consent for Teams meetings, where literally if I said, hey, we're going to record, you'll have to go in and say yes to that, right? And if you say no to that, then you'll drop out of the meeting. If you say yes to it, then you can stay in the meeting. right? And then you can look at the recording later if you wanted to do that. The only group that's got changed on this was the DoD. That's coming in early August to mid-August. And then the new experience in search within chat and channels, I want to make sure that you guys understand what's going on there, because that slipped, and it slipped a lot. All right, so it was July when standard was going to happen. Now it's mid-September. And that's the idea that when I go and do a Control F for search inside a chat or a channel, a panel is going to open up on the right-hand side that's going to allow me to be able to do the searching there, staying in the context of that chat or channel. And I'm not going into another window based off of that, right? I'm using it right now internally here in Microsoft. I love it. It's much, much better. Okay. So that one's a big one. Jason, for the OneDrive meetings file access feature coming out, do you know if that will list files for all meetings you access to or just certain ones? I believe it's the ones that you accept or say optional. If you deny them, I don't believe they're going to be showing up in there, Jason. But I'm not 100% positive. I haven't actually seen it quite yet because it's not rolled out to us as well. All right. The other one I wanted to mention too is the form start page experience got pushed out as well. That's just making it the same across all the different areas within Office 365. OneDrive recommended files slipped as well. So that's the capability to be able to see recommendations based on things that you've been working on. Some people don't really care about that because that just shows other things they're like, wow, they got to get locked down. And then the SharePoint improving page authoring experience is also pushed out just a little bit as well to the end of August. And then some admin actions required. The new one that I wanted to mention is this capability right here. Basically, a new PowerPoint Online, OneDrive, and SharePoint view admin settings. It's the ability to be able to view PowerPoint files that are saved in OneDrive and SharePoint. There is going to be a little bit of a transition happening, but there is an action item. You do need to take a look at that if you do have Power BI files that are in your OneDrive or SharePoint. By September 29th, you do need to check your settings, okay? And they give you a little bit more detail in the Message Center, so I'm going to push that one out there. Again, Stream Classic retirement is happening. It's out on there. And like I said last time, I couldn't believe I said InfoPath 2013, but it is coming to an end finally forever and ever. I couldn't believe that. July 14th, 2026. So make sure you guys are working on that and getting that taken care of. All right, Michelle.